Hi, Scott with FDJtool.com, and I have here the Millrite Plus from Ikohe. The Millrite Plus is a machine that was created to put a millgrain pattern onto your bands quickly and easily. The way it works is it uses plastic collars to hold your rings firmly, and when you rotate them, your millgrain tool presses against the ring quite firmly in order to put on that pattern with much ease and little effort. The Millrite Plus was actually designed and manufactured in the United States. It's made of a very durable aluminum alloy. It's sturdy. It's got rubber feet on the bottom to keep it from slipping around. But if you want a little more stability, simply unscrew the feet and bolt it directly to your bench top. It has pre-lubricated bearings inside the lathe mechanism for nice smooth action. It comes with 10 collars to hold your rings in place. You can hold ring sizes 2 to 13. You do get a number 8 female lathe millgrain tool. You get a number 7 French millgrain tool. You get an adapter to hold those French millgrain tools in place. You even get an Allen wrench to make adjustments. There's also a tool to pop off your plastic collars just in case they get stuck. And there's even a small groove on the bottom to keep your millgrain tools in place so you don't misplace them. But I think you'd really like to see just how the Millrite Plus works, so why don't we find out? To show you how the Millrite Plus works, I want to take this copper band here and place a millgrain edge on it. To do that, I need to take a plastic collet that fits very snugly inside my ring, like so. The collets have a plastic edge down here that you want to push the ring all the way up against so that it's nice and snug. Next, I need to figure out which tool I'd like to use, and I'm going to use the number 8 female millgrain lathe tool. I like the edge that puts on, so we're going to go ahead and use that. Now that the ring and the tool are sorted, we need to get ready. So I'll unscrew the knob from the end of the spindle, and remove this collet holding tool here. If it gets a little stuck, simply take your tool and pop it off, like so. I'll take my tool and insert it into the tool holder. This yellow rectangular item is the tool holder. When these two set screws are loosened, your tool holder can pivot back and forth several degrees, and this allows you the option of applying your millgrain at an angle if you find it necessary. For me, I'm going to apply it straight on, so I'll insert the tool into the holder. It holds 1/8 inch square shanks, and that's what this tool has. I will line up the tool. I'm going to do it perpendicular to the ring, so I'm going to put it straight on. There are 2 lines on the bottom of the tool holder that allow you to make sure that you're at 90 degrees. And once those are lined up, I just simply tighten down my set screw like this. My tool holder doesn't move, but notice the tool still does. And that's okay. You want that, because deep inside the tool holder is a very strong spring. And as the tool is pushed up against the ring in order to do the cutting, the spring in here will depress and then push back against the tool, pushing it against your ring for a much better cut. Now, let's put our collet on with our ring. Large hole goes onto the spindle like so. Put our collet holding tool on the bottom here. It's got both a set screw and a notch in order for it to fit precisely. The set screw lines up with a flat spot on your spindle here. The notch on our tool will line up with a notch that's on our collet so that they interlock and they fit snugly. So I will line up both of those. Set screw first, then my notch. Everything's lined up. Put our knob on last. I'm going to tighten that down. Hand tighten it. You don't want to over tighten it. No need to. There we go. Now it's time to move our tool in position. Now to do that, our tool holder is on a movable piece of the Millrite Plus here. You've got one knob that moves your tool holder back and forth. You've got another knob here that moves it to the left or to the right. And as I turn the knobs to move this in place, you'll notice it's moving rather slowly. But that's okay. You actually want that, because you want to have as much control as possible when moving the tool into place, because you want everything to be nice and precise. And as I move this into place on the ring here, I will mention that before you do this, I would caution you to go ahead and measure your ring and make marks on your ring on the left and the right side of precisely where you'd like to apply the mill grain to the ring. That way you get a symmetrical markings on your ring and it looks better, I think. But I'm going to go ahead and just apply it to the ring like this so you can see how it works. So now that I've got everything in place, we're going to go ahead and cut the mill grain pattern into our ring so you can see how it's done. Now that I have my mill grain tool in place, all I need to do is now advance the tool in order to do the cutting. What you'd like to do is advance your tool till it just makes contact with the ring. You want to do this very lightly, and you want to do this with a series of steps where you gradually cut the groove of the mill grain pattern deeper and deeper into the ring. Don't try to crank your screw all the way down to make the pattern all at once. You'll just end up making a mess. So I've turned the screw till the tool is just making contact with the ring, and so I will begin to crank it. And what will happen is it'll slowly start to make a faint pattern into the ring. And as I make a revolution or two, I will then slowly advance the screw forward so that the tool cuts a little bit deeper. Make a few more revolutions, turn it again, and I will continue to slowly rotate and slowly advance the tool until the pattern of the mill grain becomes deeper and deeper in the side of my ring. And continue to do this until you have a mill grain pattern that you are happy with. And we'll stop there, and you can see a very predominant mill grain pattern has been put into the side of the ring. And I'm happy with that for now for our demonstration, so let's go ahead and show you just a few more features. One thing I do want to point out though in making the mill grain pattern on the side of this band is that I do need to make the pattern on the other side. And to do that, you could do that in one of two ways. I could simply move my mill grain tool back and then advance and then move it over to the other side, leaving the ring on the collar, and start to cut the mill grain pattern on that side. And on a thicker band like this, that would probably work perfectly fine because I'm only attacking the top edge of the band to put my pattern on. But with a ring such as this domed ring has very thin edges, and with those thin edges resting up against this lip on the collar, you might have a little bit of difficulty getting your tool to cut it on that side. In order to deal with that, it's quite simple. Just simply remove your collar, turn your ring around, and slide it back on so that your blank edge is now on this side when the mill grain part that you previously did is on this side. Then you can just simply advance your tool forward again like we did before, repeat the process, and get a mill grain pattern on both sides of the ring. Now a different way to put a mill grain pattern into my ring is to use this specialty tool called the V cutting tool. I've got it in my tool holder here. The V cutting tool is basically a very sharp graver-like cutter that's designed to fit within the Millrite Plus's tool holder. It is an angled cutter which has both a thin cutting angle and a wide cutting angle. It cuts a groove into your band that allows your mill grain tool to follow with precision. If I were to use the small French mill grain tools like this, I would use the thinner edge of my V cutting tool. Since I'm using the wider lathe mill grain tool, I'm going to use the wider edge to cut a groove into my band. And in fact, I'm going to cut a groove into my band along the edge of it, more or less like a ledge or a lip for my mill grain tool to fit right into. Now, as before with the mill grain tools, I don't want to do all my cutting at once. You'll just make a mess. So I'm going to bring my tool into contact with the ring, and once it's in contact, then I'll begin to slowly turn the ring, making very light cuts into the band. And after a revolution or so, as with the mill grain tool, I'll advance the tool forward, do a little more cutting, And again, continue to cut. If you feel a lot of resistance when it's cutting, you've advanced the tool a little bit too far and you want to back off. You want it to be nice and smooth. And as the cutting works, I'll advance it a little more and a little more until I reach the depth at which I want my groove to be, and then I will switch to my millgrain tool. Now that I've cut the lip with my V tool, I've replaced that with my millgrain tool, and as before, I'm going to slowly rotate the ring and advance the tool in order to get a very clean, very easy pattern of my millgrain, and continue to rotate and advance until I achieve the pattern that will make me happy. I just put a beautiful millgrain pattern on this copper band right here. Yeah, there's a little bit of cleanup work to be done, but you have that anytime you work on a ring. But you know what? I did it without any tools at all. And I did it quickly, I did it easily, and I did it right here in front of you. And that, I think, is the beauty of the Millrite Plus from Ikohe. My name is Scott with FDJtool.com.